Welcome to the Productive Habits Podcast. I am your co-host, Jamie, and we have a very new co-host, Maria Burchevskaia. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about language learning, the importance of learning a new language, and Maria's experience. And this is going to be a super fun and exciting podcast because not only do we have a new co-host that I'm super excited to talk more about, but we have so much information for you as a viewer in regards to language learning and tips. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our very new co-host, Maria. Thank you for being part of the team.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. That's super cool. I've wanted to do something like this for a while, and I never had the motivation on my own. So that's like perfect timing. I'm very excited about this.
Well, you did such an amazing job the last podcast. Dennis was so surprised, so impressed. He's like, "Yeah, let's have her on." And so now we're here. Now we're here. For those who don't know,
I'm glad I impressed you guys.
Right? It was a great feeling too. So for those who don't know, if you haven't listened to, I think it's episode 14, where we talk about Maria's experience navigating through the male-dominated industry that she works in, give that a listen. But why don't we do another brief introduction? Who is Maria? Who is Maria Burchevskaia?
Okay, I'm 28 years old, turning 29 in 1 week actually.
Oh.
And yeah, next Saturday, my second birthday in quarantine, which is fun. Yeah, and I currently work for a health and wellness startup as a product manager. I started with them a little over 3 years ago, and I'm also in school for marketing, and I'm also graduating next week. So this next week's gonna be a big week for me.
Damn, that's a lot of information.
I know.
Health and fitness, wellness. We should definitely do another episode on that now that we have someone who works in the industry. I'm pretty sure you could give us a lot of good tips. So you're in school. How's your last week? How's everything so far?
It's very intense because there is a lot of submissions, a lot of assignments due, a lot of finals and stuff like that. But I just have 4 more presentations to go, and that's it. And then I'm going to be done forever. I can't believe it because I'm getting more and more free time as I'm progressing through my assignments. And yesterday I was actually just chilling at night, and I was like, wow, I forgot what it feels like just to have the night off. I don't know what it's like anymore, because for the past 10 months I've been studying every day. I've had 15-hour days, and wow, it feels really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm kind of in your boat because my semester I'm on the other side as an instructor is also ending. So I'm going to have a nice 2-3 week break before going back to work. What are your plans? Now that you have this free time?
I'm not sure yet. I'm supposed to start my co-op soon, so I'm trying to figure that out. I'm applying to jobs. I'm getting some offers. I'm thinking on what my next step is gonna be. So I have nothing definite yet, but yeah, it would be something along those lines. Yeah, just get in there and start working.
Nice. Yeah. Well, that's awesome to hear. For those who don't know, Maria and I are actually good friends. We met through this really fun comedy course. And I actually, I know that she learns a new language on her spare time, right? So
yes, that's correct.
For those who don't know, do you want to give us a little background info on, your language learning, your whole language learning journey? What language do you know? Because a lot of people don't know this part of you.
Yeah, for sure. So I was stupid enough to get a degree in translation and interpretation, which is, if you're wondering, is just learning languages for 5 years straight. That is 70% of my of the answer on how I know so many languages. Yeah, I was stupid enough to waste my time on that. I wouldn't say it was a total waste of time, but unless you want to be an interpreter or a translator, you don't need a degree for that. Even in that case, like here in Ontario, you need a license, so I could actually like be an interpreter here because I have a degree. But from other perspectives, like I don't think it's an important degree, but it was certainly fun. And like actually like the main advantage that it gave me that was that I'm basically like living my life in another language. For those of you who don't know, like I'm originally Russian. And now like my whole life like is not in my native language. I like my friends, like I know very few Russian people. Most of my friends are not like they're Canadian or like they're from other countries, and I barely ever speak Russian anymore, like just with my parents. So I guess this gave me like all this background to fall back on when I moved away from Moscow. Yeah, so at the university I learned 3 languages. I learned English, German, and Danish. And then so that would be 3 and plus Russian, my native language. Then before I came here, I started learning French because obviously like it's useful. And a year ago, I started learning Spanish just because I've always liked it. And like we were in quarantine, there was nothing to do. And I set a challenge to myself that I'm going to do a year of Spanish every day, 1 hour of Spanish every day. And I just finished my challenge this past Wednesday.
Oh,
so
congrats.
so thank you. It was like super challenging, but I've had a lesson for every day, 1 hour lesson for 365 days. It feels like insane. I don't know how I did that, but I'm so yeah, it's like a big milestone.
Talk about habits. That's like every single day, 1 hour. And considering you're in school too. So you know, how many? 6 languages.
Yeah.
So 3 of them is Danish, Danish, Russian, English. Can you list them again?
So Russian, English, German, Danish, French, Spanish.
Wow. And so your conversation, like what level would you say?
You know, with languages, it's always tricky because you forget them if you stop practicing. Like English is like Russian's obviously like my native language, but like I barely ever speak it anymore. Like I would say like now like my life is in English. I think in English, I dream in English, I do everything in English. Like I'm like pretty fluent, hopefully, as you can see. So yeah, I have no problems with communication. English is obviously like my best language now, like apart from Russian. Like in Spanish, I'm like really conversational. Yeah, I'm like pretty good. Like when people like speak Spanish, I understand. Like I have no problem. But yeah, obviously, like I don't understand everything because there is a lot of different accents and there is a lot of slang. But yeah, like in general, I would say I'm pretty good. Same in French, like I'm pretty decent. But with Danish and German, especially Danish, I'm like pretty rusty. I haven't practiced in like a couple of years now, so I wouldn't like trust myself completely with them. But like it'll come back to me if I started practicing. It would. But yeah, the trick is like with languages, you have to practice all the time.
It's like working out or like, you know, riding a bike.
Yeah,
you might like forget it for a few seconds, but then once you get used to it and keep working on it, it just, you know, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of languages. So which of those 6 would you say was the most fun to learn?
Let's see. Fun. It's a lot of hard work, so I wouldn't like describe it as exactly fun. I think Danish is a lot of fun as I think back on it. It wasn't as much fun in the process, but it's fun in terms of like it's very unique and it's rare and like not many people speak it. So it's a good conversation starter for sure. Like people are always wondering like why Danish? Like how come you know it so well? So and then it's just a fun language to learn because they have like all those crazy letters that the other languages have, like an A with an O on top of it and like stuff like that. They're fun. And yeah, the sounds are pretty fun. They have like 26 different vowel sounds in Danish, which is pretty bizarre if you think of it. So yeah, I guess like that's the most fun one because it's the most exotic one. But like personally for me, I think like in the process, I've had most fun with Spanish because it's like one of my favorite languages, and I think like I just enjoy it.
Oh, so Spanish. Yeah, I think, you know, it's just a little side tangent here. I think everyone should learn a language. Like when I was growing up here, I guess it's just the educational system, but learning French was mandatory, but it was never like, why should I learn French? Like, why is it
Yeah.
important? How's it going to help me? It was just, you need to learn it. Here's how you say this. Here are the rules and all that, which were crazy complex. So I just want to premise this and say that everyone should learn a language, but again, it depends on your goal. For someone like myself, I really want to learn French because I I really like the culture. I
Mhm.
I feel like it's a great hedge in terms of my career. So if I want to work in Quebec, if I want to work in France, there's an opportunity. And I guess a little tip is that because I know my why, because I see myself using the language, it's much easier for me to study. Um, and is that your case? Because you said you studied Spanish 365 days straight.
Yeah.
And was it, and it's not easy, it's definitely not easy, but what was your why behind that?
With this particular thing, like with this particular case, there was no why because I was just having fun with it. I don't think I have a why at this point. It's just like a
Hmm.
habit that I have because
Oh,
I've been learning languages since I was like 10, I think. Like, of
okay.
course, it's like started with just having English classes at school or like whatever. It wasn't much fun. And it was pretty much like the same thing. Like, why am I doing this? I just
Yeah.
like, I have to because I have homework. But then like I get bored if I don't learn a language now. If I'm not learning, yeah, I just like I feel empty. So I guess it's like just part of my everyday life. So I just need to do this. I don't necessarily have a why. But with French, I definitely had a why. I was like, okay, I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
move to Canada. It's very useful. It's gonna like enhance my career perspective. So like whatever. That's why I'm doing it. So yeah, I guess many people learn languages without a purpose, and I think you're right. That's one of the reasons why they end up giving it up, because you just maybe like you like a band from a particular country. Like I know a lot of people who like BDS, like
Oh,
the Korean band,
yeah, yeah.
and they start learning Korean, but like as the interest for the band fades away, so does the interest for the language. So I guess like
Oh,
it
that's
could be like
true.
just a fun thing to like pass your time and like I don't know, to have fun with it for a couple of months and then you're done. um but yeah, I would say still do it even if you don't have a clear why, even if you feel like just okay, like I might try that, like as long as you want to do it, as long as it's not somebody else saying you should and you're like, oh fine, okay, I don't really want to but I guess I should. Like if you have the motivation whenever it comes from, you should do it because it's a great way to broaden your horizons in general. It like opens up this whole different perspective to you, even
Yeah.
that, even like analyzing the words. Like for example, like why does one word exist in one language and it doesn't exist in the other, in another? And you just you learn like to see a different perspective. Like it, I don't know, it's just a great thing to do. Yeah, you become like smarter, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the research has shown that your brain actually grows, like it physically grows, particularly,
Yeah.
I think it's the hippocampus, which is in charge of your short and long-term memory,
Mm-hmm.
and your cerebral cortex. I actually
Yeah.
wouldn't know this if I didn't research this right before the podcast. So just pulling in some stats to make me sound a little smarter.
No,
So,
no, it's actually great.
right?
And it's actually a great a way to prevent like Alzheimer's and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think, if you want those health benefits or those, I guess, health benefits, yeah, for sure, learn a new language. So I guess it's kind of a habit. You've learned these languages. And so, how, I guess it's a bit biased, but how long does it typically become fluent? Like, how long does it take for fluency?
The thing is, with the first thing they teach you when you get a degree in languages, they tell you that fluency doesn't really exist because you are
Really?
not like not fluency in terms of like being able to express yourself like without any problems, but like in terms of knowing a language to perfection, like learning language up to the point of when you reach perfection, because it doesn't exist. Like you're not even, you don't even like I don't know Russian perfectly, you don't know English perfectly, we make mistakes, and languages change all the time through like there is new
Hmm.
words, there is new tendencies, there is like we change the way we speak, we change the way we use the words change their meaning. So perfection can never be reached, which is a bit frustrating, but yeah. So it really depends on how you define fluency and what your goal is exactly. If your goal is like to travel to Quebec and just like communicate there, like at restaurants and stores, you'll be fine in like, I don't know, 3 to 6 months. If you want to work in a professional environment, that's quite a different thing. It might take like a couple of years to be like fully proficient in that environment to feel comfortable. So yeah, it really depends.
So I would say the average listener would probably aim for conversational. So would you say that's 6 months still, or is that something a bit longer?
I would say 6 months to a year, depending on the intensity. If you're like a psycho like me and you take classes every day for an hour and then you like do Duolingo on the side and you watch like shows, then it's like something closer to 6 months. If you're more chill, you can like 3-4 times a week, and then like something like a little show on the side here and there. It would be something closer to a year, and you can uphold a basic conversation. Yeah, you can get by.
That's what I'm like. I've been learning French for not learning, it's very passive for the past year, and I've seen some improvements, but I really want your insight. I guess we'll talk about like ways to improve and how to learn, but one other benefits, and you mentioned it, of language learning is that it really helps your career. And I pulled up another stats. Apparently over 1/3 of businesses want people specifically for the language skills. And another cool stat, multilinguals can expect a salary up to 20% more in certain jobs compared to people who just know one language. So that begs me to ask you, how has learning languages really affected your career? And I'm guessing you've worked all over the world, right? In Russia, England, Canada. How does that affected your career in general? And
I think it just it actually, like you can see, it changed my whole life. If I hadn't got that degree, I wouldn't be here right now, because like I lived my whole life in another language, and that's like of course that's hugely impacted my life. And yeah, like I got my degree in the UK, and then I briefly worked in Hong Kong, and then I came back to Russia for a couple of years, and now I'm here. So yeah, obviously it gives you like all these opportunities. It gives you all these additional choices that wouldn't be available if you didn't speak a language. So that's 100% a great thing. So I honestly cannot come with a single reason why it would be a bad thing to speak a language. It's just like, I don't know, it's like a great way to it's great for your career, it's great for your brain. It's just a great way to pass the time, because you feel so productive and you're learning so much, and it's just fun. So yeah, I would say it was crucial. The fact that I can speak English, it was crucial for me, because it changed my whole life. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to come here because I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't have been able to. Yeah.
Is there like a single story where you knowing Danish really helped your company, or you knowing French really helped your company? Usually there's some case where you're talking to someone on the phone, or you have this client who can't speak English properly and they need someone who speaks Spanish or French, and they need someone like that. Have you been in that boat where a company needs your multilingual abilities?
I think I worked as an interpreter for a couple of years after graduation. And I think that's where my skills were most useful, because I don't think I've encountered those spontaneous, urgent kinds of situations, because I don't work with clients, right? I work with my team, and we do know what languages we need, and there is nothing oh my god, we're getting a call and we need someone who speaks French. It's not a characteristic of my job. But yeah, working as an interpreter is definitely it's very stressful, because it's here and right here, right now, you need to translate this, and you're this bridge between the two sides. And it feels it's very intense, especially when you're doing simultaneous translation. When the person is speaking and you have to translate at the same time with a
Oh gosh.
delay of like a maximum of like 1.2 seconds or something like that. I don't remember. There's like a standard for this,
Oh
and it's
wow.
like
So
super
yeah.
stressful.
Yeah, I could see that. I remember working as a customer service agent at this
Mm,
company called JP Morgan, and I had this. I think it was this Chinese, or I think they were from Hong Kong, or yeah, it was Chinese or I don't know, Cantonese, whatever it was. Um, their English wasn't great, so we have a department where uh, for translators, and so I had to get a translator on the line, and I had to, it was such a mess. It was so stressful because of that barrier, that friction. It added a lot of stress to each other, and it
yeah.
was so hard to work with. So I can't even imagine as a translator, like that you have to be perfect, you have to be on point, right?
Yeah.
So that sucks. Good thing you're. Are you happy that you're not a translator anymore?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Um, it's not for me. It's a very stressful job. I know a lot of people who have like alcohol problems because of that, because
Wow.
it's a very like it's a lot of responsibility, especially if you're translating like higher level like negotiations like with politicians and stuff. It's like a lot of responsibility, and it's just stressful. The nature of the job is stressful because you have to be on point like 100% of the time for several hours. It's very exhausting emotionally, and yeah,
Mm.
I don't blame them for like having those problems because it's very intense. So yeah, not like it's very well paid, don't get me wrong,
Okay.
but I don't have the emotional strength for this. I guess I need something more chill.
Yeah, more like on the back end and just doing your own
Yeah.
project. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, like I think that's another great way of earning money is being a translator. If you could maybe do that part time, and yeah, again, it really opens up your doors. So I really want to talk about the specifics, the nitty gritty. You know, how do
Yeah.
you learn languages? How did you learn these languages? 6 languages. You know, can you tell me more about your methods? What did you use? You mentioned a
Mm,
class. I'd like to learn more about that, to be honest.
okay, so I would say when you're just starting, it doesn't really matter if your teacher is a native speaker or what book you use. It's
Mhm.
really whatever. The basic in the beginning, it's very, very important to practice a lot of the same stuff a lot of the time to get those basic skills to the point where it's automatic. Like for example, like we all speak English here.
Yeah.
gonna give you example from English. I do, you do, we do, they do, but he and she does. A lot of people make this mistake because like in third person singular with he and she, the verb, like you have to add an S to the verb.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And a lot of people make this mistake because it's not automatic. It's not logical. So you
Mhm.
have to practice that a lot of times so that you don't think when you speak anymore. And I think at the initial stage, when you just started learning the language, you need to do this with all the basic grammar. I'm not saying like go very deep into details, but like if it's a verb that changes according to person. So for
Yeah.
example, English is like very easy that way.
Okay.
I cannot even like describe how easy it is compared to other languages. Those of you who speak a different language, you can appreciate how really, really easy it is. But yeah, so get those basic skills up to the point where it's automatic. Practice a lot. Like I find Duolingo great for this.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So
because it makes you like if you do all of the lessons, for those of you who are not using Duolingo, it's like an app that gives you there is five levels to every skill and 5 lessons within each skill. So you get 25 lessons to practice the same skill up to the point where it's automatic. So that's what I did with my Spanish. That's how I started. I really like I'm this like nerdy person who finished Duolingo. I did all the languages up to level 5. Oh,
that's
sorry,
crazy.
all the languages, all the skills up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
level 5, and it helped me a lot. And now there is certain things that I cannot just make a mistake in because it's like it's in there so deep. So in at the initial stage, it's very important to do that. And it doesn't matter if like many people just say like, oh, I just want like a native speaker to be my teacher. At the initial stage, it's not important. When you get to the point where you can speak, your grammar is okay, you don't make those basic mistakes, you can, and you need to practice your conversation, that's where the native speakers come in. That's where you need additional help. At the initial stage, you might not even need a teacher. As I said, like you can use an app or like practice by yourself, because those mistakes, they can be corrected by an app. You don't need a person. As you get further, you have more need for an actual person to correct you and to practice with. And it's nice if it's a native speaker. So yeah.
So you would say really drill down the grammar first to the point
Yeah.
where it's automatic. It's like muscle memory in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's weird because I've been told, I guess I haven't been told, but really to immerse yourself in all aspects. So whether it be grammar, even with a native teacher, but you're saying go with grammar first because you want that foundation. So yeah, like, okay, so we could use grammar, we could use Duolingo. You know, what else have you used when it comes to grammar when you first started?
So when I said do grammar first, I didn't mean do just grammar. You
Oh,
can,
okay.
of course, you can like
Yeah.
talk a little about like very basic stuff, like what your name is and how old you are, stuff like that. Watch some shows, of course, like do that, but spend most time practicing those automatic basic skills. But yeah, like additionally, of course, like feel free to do whatever, it wouldn't hurt. And sorry, I forgot what the question was.
No, I was asking, you know, now that I forgot it too. I was asking, you know, should people do grammar first? And you were saying, no, you could do
you asked me about
everything.
additional resources. What else?
Yeah, what else
they
can
did?
you use?
I would say like get a book to read, something easy. I would recommend like like when I was learning English, I used to read all those like chick lit novels, like very stupid, very conversational, written in a very easy language about something very like light. Like romance books are a great way because there is a lot of like casual phrases, a lot of like casual conversation that's going to teach you. Don't like, okay, another like piece of advice, please don't read classics when you're just starting to learn. You don't like classic literature. Don't read that.
Like Harry Potter. Well, that's not classic.
No, like Pride and Prejudice for English.
Oh,
or like Les Miserables. Don't read that.
Oh, that stuff. Yeah.
It's just gonna like you're just gonna hate the language so much. Like I remember when I was just learning English, I was like at a decent level, but I wasn't like fluent. And I started reading Jane Eyre, and as I opened the book, I had like 30 words on the page that I didn't know, and they're not even useful words. They're words that were like widely used in the 19th century when it was written. So it is just a waste of your time at this point. If you're just starting. So if you want to read something, get like a stupid book, or preferably get something you already read in another language, but it has to be an easy modern book. Don't like classical literature is not, you're not there yet.
That's actually really, I didn't really take that in because yeah, I'm also reading like French books, but they're like for 5-year-olds.
Yeah, so, that's a great way.
Yeah, right. And
watching cartoons and reading children books,
yeah, I'm starting there, and it's trivial, right? It's how to wash your hands and how to brush your teeth. But you'll be surprised. Sometimes you learn, like even stuff about brushing your teeth. So
no, but you know what? It's like amazing. I think there is like I don't know how do I put it?
How do you say it in
like
English?
There is like there is like a downside to learning languages like remotely when you're not immersed into the culture. Is that, for example, with my Spanish, like I can talk about environment protection and like animals on the brink of extinction and stuff like that. That's deep. But if you ask me like, hey, could you hand me that bowl in the top drawer? I don't know how to say that in Spanish. I'll be like, oh, really? No, because it's very conversational. Okay. They don't teach you how to say that. I maybe know the word for cupboard, but like, I don't know. So those things about like brushing your teeth and washing your hands, they come in handy because these are the situation where you are primarily communicating with people. You won't be talking about environmental protection, maybe like on very few occasions, but you're going to be talking about stuff like, hey, can you give me this? Hey, like I don't know, it was going to be very casual, and that's what they don't teach you, unfortunately.
That raises a good point, because now that I think of it, a great way to learn more conversational phrases of another language is, go on Instagram, follow someone who, speaks, let's say, French, and or
Yeah,
even a YouTube vlog. And what you could do is actually download the translation, or not the translation, the captions,
subtitles.
the subtitles in whatever language, French, let's say French, and you could print that out, or even just read it on your phone at the nighttime, and that way you get that, that conversational phrases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
mentioned you could talk deep stuff, but when it comes to cupboards, that's a different
exactly.
story, right?
Yeah, blogs are a great way.
Oh
Thank you
yeah,
for
that's
bringing that up. So yeah, blogs and like YouTube videos, those are great because they're very, very casual and very conversational. And like, even if you're watching like how people like film themselves like in the street, like, hey guys, I'm like buying my groceries, whatever. This is very useful when you're learning a language, because you are listening to it live, like people actually speak it,
yeah.
not like this curated way schools teach it to you. So yeah, I just want to like sum up a little bit, because we've been like giving a lot of tips, and
Yeah, I
I
love
think
it.
we just need to like summarize what we have so far. So basically, grammar first, please get it to the automatic level, so that you are comfortable with like constructing, making up basic phrases, and just get those basic things to the point where it's automatic. Don't read classical literature. Read very, very easy books, preferably something you already know. Stuff for children, great.
Yeah.
Cartoons, all those like books for like 5-year-olds, amazing. And blogs is another great tip. Yeah.
I love those tips. I love it. What about a more formal sense of learning? You took classes. Can you speak on that? Like, what kind of classes did you take?
I took like most basic online school classes, like nothing special. It's like it's one at one of these language schools out there. So yeah, they were just like basic grammar, vocabulary, communication, reading classes. So yeah, each class was focused on either 4 of those. And yeah, sometimes you'll get like a long text to read and you analyze it. Sometimes it's just like skills, you practice like how to order something at a restaurant and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, it was very basic. I
Worth it?
guess absolutely, if you're
Okay.
consistent.
Oh, if you're consistent. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say like consistency. Like if you ask me like what my one tip would be, one ultimate tip, it
Yeah.
would be like be consistent. It's not enough to do it twice a week for an hour. It's not enough to do it 3 times a week. No, it has to be every day. Even if you like, you don't have to spend, like, you're not a maniac like me. Like, I'm like a psycho. So like, don't take me as an example, but an hour every day is extreme. So when people say they don't have time to learn languages, I don't really believe it, because there is a lot of opportunities that you just don't take on a daily basis. So for example, sometimes you don't have to spend 3 hours a day in class actively learning. You can get a lot of like passive learning strategies in. For example, as you cook, you can put on a podcast or listen to a YouTube video, what I do usually. Or like when you're in line waiting for a coffee, just open up the app and learn a couple of words. Or I don't know, watch a show. Like I like watch a show in a different language. Just for example, like when I was learning French, I used to watch Friends in French. Because I already know what they are talking about in English, it was so much easier for me to understand. But at the same time, I wasn't wasting my time. I was learning a language. So yeah, that way you can get at least an hour of passive learning a day, and you won't even notice. So if you ask me what one ultimate tip for learning a language is be consistent. 2-3 times a week is not enough. It has to be every day, at least 5-10 minutes, but it has to be every day. And that way you will progress really fast.
I think it's all about immersion, right? You can't immerse yourselves if you're studying 1 hour twice a week. That's not immersive.
Yeah.
You're going to forget that easily,
No.
right? And you mentioned it like on episode 14 when you came on, it's double dipping. So for example, if you are cleaning dishes, right? What are you doing? You're not doing anything. You're just cleaning. You could be
Yeah.
listening to a podcast. You could put on a TV French show, and you're immersing yourself. You're sending those signals to your brain that this is the French language. This is how the sounds, whatever sound
Yeah.
like, right? And
Absolutely.
just to give you a personal story of how I learned French, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't very active because, first of all, pure laziness. Like I didn't really want to spend 1 hour learning grammar because I would say time management, but no, laziness, first of all, right? There's no such thing as having no time.
You know, there is like, as a topic for another podcast, but there is no such thing as laziness.
I love that. Wait, hold on. I'm saying I was lazy. But yeah.
No, there is no such thing. There is deeper reasons behind that. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I like that. Is it more scientific?
Yes.
Oh, I love this. Okay, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, when I first started my French journey, this was officially January 2020. And all I did was not Grammarly, Duolingo on the bus to work and from, right? And that's an hour and a half a day on Duolingo.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
It's not bad. Obviously, there's some times when I'm, walking up the stairs or waiting for the bus and I can't do it, but usually an hour and a half on Duolingo every day. Not necessarily Duolingo, sorry, Duolingo or podcast or listening. And so, I did that for a year, listening.
It's amazing.
Podcast, Duolingo, and I can't really write French, but if people are talking, I could pick up the words and I could, understand a very basic conversation. And so that's one every single day for a year.
Yeah.
And it's those small little things. I didn't spend hours on end. I just did whatever I can throughout the day. So if I'm working out, I usually start my workout with cardio, where I don't really have to think. So I'm on the stationary bike, I put on a podcast or I'll put on a YouTube French video.
Yeah.
And I did that.
Yeah, those are all great tips. Yeah. And like, it's relatively low effort from your end.
Low effort.
And and it still gets you the results because you are consistent with it. So yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And so, how can I improve that, right? How can I improve my process? So right now I'm just maybe doing one Duolingo lesson a day. I'm listening to maybe 15 minutes of a French podcast. What else should I do to improve?
So I think it might be time to like up your game a little bit and take actual lessons.
Okay.
Because like Duolingo and listening will only get you this far, right? At some point you need like motivation from the outside because most people don't have it. Like for me, as I was doing my courses, I was like, I'm paying money for this, and you pay in advance too. So it was like, I already paid for this. I need a return on my investment, right?
Yep.
So it was a great motivation for me. So usually like, financial stuff unfortunately works the best. And what kept me going for a year. So yeah, I would say you might need to take some actual classes now, because like if you have the motivation to sit down, like it's a thing. Okay. Let me start from the beginning. There is active learning and there is passive learning. Active learning is a very energy consuming process, and it's hard. By active learning, I mean the time when you actually in the state of flow, you are deeply immersed into the topic and you are just learning, no distractions. You are like, it's pure like brain work, very hard process. So without that, you cannot go far. You need to introduce that into your system. So far, it's like for you, it's been like more of a background learning. That's how I would call it. So it will get you like to the very basic level, which you already have. But if you want to see a real progress, you need to introduce this active learning into your system. If you're able to, if you have the willpower, if you have like emotional resources or like whatever to do it by yourself without a teacher, like great for you. You can do it by yourself. Just maybe practice grammar on your own or like write essays. But the thing is, like, it's always better to have someone, like you say you can barely write in French. You need someone to correct your mistakes. You need someone to like, because you cannot always correct yourself, especially when you haven't had enough practice yet. So yeah, I would say get those active learning in. and like maybe hire a tutor or something, find a teacher online, because you need that now to make this next step.
Yeah, I think I've had those. So amazing tips. Thank you. That was awesome. So yeah, we talked about all things language learning. We talked about how there's active and passive, and if you really want to excel your language learning process, you really got to implement both, right? Active learning via studying, not too much every day, whatever you can afford, and passive learning. If you're on the bus, listen to a podcast. I think that's going to help a lot. Any other tips you can provide to someone learning that we haven't mentioned?
Okay, so let's just say consistency, passive learning whenever you can. When you get to the basic level, start actively learning. If you have an opportunity, so it's like a lot of people have this problem. They have this block. Like that's what I have with Spanish. For example, I understand most of the stuff that people say, but when it comes to talking, I'd rather like respond in English, because I have this like internal block that I'm gonna sound stupid. I'm gonna like make a lot of mistakes, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's me.
So yeah, so you get that. Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna like, people are gonna judge me, even though this is absolutely not true. So if that's what you're scared about, scared of, please don't be. Because imagine a person learning your language, and they speak to you. They make mistakes, but you can understand them, and they are able to make conversations. Yes, they're not perfect, but they're speaking, they are understood, and they understand what you tell them. Would you judge them for making a mistake? Of course not. You'll be like, man, you're doing a great job. Good for you. Like, that's amazing. That's very impressive.
That's what I think.
So that's what other people would think of you. So you cannot be shy. You should not be shy, and you should not be afraid, because like, honestly, like, a thing that I saw an interesting thing on TikTok the other day. It was a girl who was talking about learning languages, and she was saying, if you judge your colleague for making mistakes in English at work, you should consider that this person was smart enough to actually do the same job as you do in a different language that is not his native language, and they were brave enough to move to another country and speak the language that was not their native language. So if you make mistakes, that's fine. It's just people are going to just respect you more. Nobody's going to judge you.
That's amazing. That's what I wanted to hear. So a little fun story before we move on. I went to Paris 2 years ago, 2018, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went to Europe. Well, I went to Amsterdam and Paris. And all that. Loved it. I love Europe. So Dennis, myself, and his girlfriend Donna, we ate at this Italian French restaurant, and we were getting the bill, and they're like, hey Jamie, you're learning French, or you're kind of learning French, ask for the bill. I knew how to ask. It's l'audition, right? S'il vous plaît. But I was like, no, what if I say it wrong? What if I mess up? What are they going to think about me? So the waiter comes, and I say in the most English accent, the bill, please.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? And I'm like, it's so simple. And thinking back, I had that wall I couldn't really get over.
Yeah.
So the amazing tip, I love it. Which leads us, actually, we talked about so much, our last section of the podcast.
Okay.
I don't know if you can add, but any book, typically we do a book recommendation. I'm putting you on the spot here, but do you have any books you can recommend? If not, a tip or anything else.
Yeah, I don't think I have any specific book. That's the thing. I think it's always better to read a book in the language that you're learning than to read a book about learning languages.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
I think that would be more useful, because you will as a fun thing to do, you can read something about how we learn languages, but it's not going to help you in the long run. Rather just buy a book, and an easy book, a romance novel in the language that you're learning, and read it. So yeah, I wouldn't say don't go too much into theory. I did that during my degree, and I cannot. It was fun, very educational, but I wouldn't say it necessarily facilitated my language learning process. Yeah, so don't waste your time reading books and about how we learn languages. Just get in there and start learning by like whatever means you can. Another great tip, by the way, is to switch your phone into the language that you're learning. I know that you just did that, Jamie, so that's super cool. Yeah, and you get a lot of knowledge that way, because it's like, again, it's the problem that you're going to have with most is the day-to-day communication. Like, for example, and like the switching your phone gives that flexibility to you, because you use it in a lot of day-to-day things. Like, you're going to learn how to like set the alarm and stuff like that. So it's very useful. So yeah, like I would say the problems that you're going to have with most is like communicating the very basic things. Like, for example, when I did my degree in England, and I could speak, like I was at a very good level at that point, and I could speak about anything, but I had trouble, for example, calling the plumber and explaining what was wrong with my like faucet or like whatever.
Wow.
Because it's not something they teach you. So those day-to-day things and those like very casual basic conversations are most important for fluency. That's what I would say. So if you have a source, if you have like a friend who speaks the language, or like someone to practice with on a daily basis about like very trivial like day-to-day matters, it's gonna like get you to this next level of basically being like very fluent.
Man, you took the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say, switch your phone. Well, I did this like 2 weeks ago, and it's been a great thing. I've learned a lot of new words, and it
Yeah.
really forces you to obviously adapt. And so if I don't understand a certain word on the screen and I need to do something, I have to Google Translate it.
Yeah.
So it forces me to actively learn that word. And so, yeah, that's my tip. Switch your phone to whatever language you're learning.
Yeah. Oh, you have to, you know what it means. You have to figure out, you have to use your logic. That's also helpful for like your cognitive flexibility or like whatever. Right. So yeah, that's a great thing to do.
Awesome. Well, that is it for the Productive Habits podcast. I am your co-host, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode with our new co-host, Maria Burchevskaia, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.